So what's going on, everybody? This is not even an episode; it's a special edition of The Pursuit. And I saw a story today, a post on Instagram and on Facebook about one of my former students. One of my favorite, and I know y'all said Pastor Nate, you said that about a lot of your students. I'm Coach Davis to him, but I just saw this story that after 35 years, he has I don't know if you want to call it reunited or connected with his biological family. He met his mom, biological mom, your dad also, Matt.
Yes, sir.
I saw a picture and your brothers and sisters. And I inboxed him and said, man, I want to hear your story. And he said, Coach Davis, if Tyler Perry wrote a movie about this, it would be a hit. And I said, well, you know what? Let's get on this podcast and kind of talk about it and share your story. So, Matt, my wife has been knowing you longer than I have because Apostle Betty Jenkins and my mother-in-law, BJ McSween, they were in Melaleuca together. And I was telling you that your mom made a corsage for my brother-in-law when he went to the prom over there on Rogers Road. So I know the family, know Apostle Betty Jenkins, sweet lady, woman of God, talks about you all the time. And so I met you as a sixth grader, not know that you were adopted at 2 months as at 2 months old, and just recently you connected with your biological family. So, one of the things I want to just jump in and ask you: when did you find out you were adopted? I know I'm not sure if Apostle told you at 2 months you didn't understand it, but was there a conversation that you guys had about the fact that you were adopted?
I was in second grade. What
Okay.
age are you? Grade about 8 years old or something, 7, 8?
Yep, 7, 8.
Something in that range. So I've always known.
How did that conversation go?
I can't remember, verbatim. I just remember we were in the living room and she just said, Matt, I just want to tell you that you were adopted, and I didn't pay it any mind. I just said, okay, and went on to my room.
Oh.
I didn't know any different or what, really what that meant at
Yeah.
that time. So, and I wasn't showed any different love. So it didn't really, there was just words at that time. But I've always known that I'm named after my adopted father.
You're named after your adopted father?
Yeah, so I'm John Matthew Jenkins II.
Oh, so your first name is John?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's probably, you see my email is John Jenkins. So named after, I'm the second.
Okay.
So most people wouldn't know. And like I said, I was raised at 2 months. So there was no different. I was raised as my mother's child, and I am
Right.
a child.
Right. So you were saying, when we spoke earlier, you were saying that with your adoption, it was through the United House of Prayer for all people. You said your biological mother. Now I'm gonna ask you: is that the term you want me to use for them? Your biological parents?
We can do that. That's fine.
Okay. And so you said your biological parents were part of that church, and I think when we talked earlier, you said it was a closed adoption. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. Well, the adoption didn't have anything to do with the United House of Prayer. They just were members. That was just a church they were members.
Okay.
That they were. She was only 19, so she reached out to the American Adoption Society, which is uncommon for Black people to do. Honestly,
Okay.
Usually you go to your grandma, auntie, that before you're gonna go to adoption, unless it's some kind of kind of like CPS kind of situation.
Right. So it's pretty much uncommon for African American people of color to go through one of those type of agencies, rather than, like you said, a lot of times in our culture, they're raised by their grandmother, the auntie, or a family member, and so that's what you're saying, right?
Correct. So as speaking with my biological mother and just hearing the story, she just couldn't make a decision. She just couldn't abort me. She couldn't abort me. But then contemplating having me and what to do. So just just something told me one day to look up in the news in the phone
Oh, really?
in the phone book in an adoption agency.
Okay.
And she stumbled on the adoption agency, called, and a black lady came out to the hospital the day of the birth, and pretty much from there it's closed. So they had made a decision. Her and my father, they both were there actually
Okay.
to sign papers that once they place me up for adoption, it is closed, and they are able to search for me again.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
she wanted to know the chances of me being, placed with, a black family. Um, and they said it was pretty high just because not many black people do that. And there's many black people looking for children,
Okay.
people that can't have children that maybe, so that they gave her some, some positive, people regarding.
Now, so you're saying the chances of a black child, African American child, being adopted by African American families, said they're high?
At that time in the 80s, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know about now, but in the 80s, that would,
It was high.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, you and your mom had any conversations about when? And so I understand what you were saying about the clothes. It wasn't like clothes, I don't want to see him, but that was just something that had to be done for the process to go through. So I'm glad you explained that, and you taught me something that I didn't know. Did she, and I know it hadn't been, how recently has it been since you guys have reconnected? Because I just
since the end of June.
The end of June.
Yeah, so it's just been recent. I wanted, to wait to share, until everybody, as far as on their sides, the children and everybody know, because they have families and everything. Want everybody to be aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. I didn't know what was the situation before even finding anybody, but I didn't want to break up any homes or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Did she talk to you at all? You, her, your dad? I saw the picture with your dad, man. I thought that was dope. Did they talk at all about how that day was for them? I mean, have y'all got that far in a conversation? I know just recently, or what did she say? If you want to share it.
I mean, it was hard for her, hard for both of them. I would say my father, he was just supportive of the decision she wanted to make. Whatever she was going to do, he was going to be there regardless.
Right.
Have the child, have me, or give me for adoption, whatever the case may be. He was going to be fully supportive.
Gotcha.
She said she was, definitely sad and thought about me, prayed for me, and they asked, that I would be in a Christian. So to be my mom, the thing is to be my mother. It just God.
Right. It's kind of like you got placed right where they prayed.
And it seemed it was right on time for my mother, Betty, as well. Because she was just, and she was going through things as well. So it's like I was that piece for her, and it's all beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't have any resentment or any, my mom, she's taught me forgiveness since I was a child,
Wow.
Even with my father I'm named after, she's always said, you got to forgive, you got to forgive, you got to forgive, carry that resentment and anger. So just, I'm grown now. I missed the opportunity with my father I'm named after to, bond with him because he passed. I can't.
Okay.
And he had tried when I'm, as a teenager and things like that, but I rejected him. I rejected
okay, so let me ask you that. Let's pause right there. Let me ask you that. So when I asked you when Apostle Betty told you that day, you said you went to your room, second grade, and didn't even think about that. So when in what stage of your life did you start having that resentment? Because you said, your dad reached out several times and you didn't want to have. So when did the resentment start coming in because of what took place, and how were you feeling?
Well, there was never any resentment with the adoption portion. There was more resentment of for my father who adopted me and named me after him, how you already have a child that's adopted, then you name him after it, then you got the nerve to abandon them. I think it's kind of low.
Gotcha.
I think that, so I mean, as a child, as far as the adoption, I had never had any issues with that on my biological parents. I never felt any resentment towards them at all. But who I'm named after, that was a different, that was different.
So who you're named after is Apostles Betty's husband.
Ex-husband, correct.
Ex-husband.
Correct.
Yeah, so they got the name.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. I want to get the story correct. So at what stage of your life did you start thinking about, and I guess it's just pretty recent. I don't know how, long that process goes. They got ancestry.com and all that stuff now. So when did you start in your mind to put it into motion that you want to find your biological parents?
I mean, when my son was Christopher was born 13 years ago, I thought about it for a second and reached out to my mom, but I kind of turned away from that. At that time, because I felt bad about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as this go around, it was all my wife, honestly.
Okay.
My wife, she was kind of tired of me having to not be able to answer questions at the doctor relating to with our kids as far as health, anything like that. I don't know. I'm a doctor, so I don't know health history.
Right.
And her family, they can go back all the way back from being freed as slaves. So
right. My mom was doing that today. My mom was telling about the first person in 1831 who was the first person in the family. So I get it.
Yeah. So my wife always, that's been important to her. It hasn't been important, that important to me again, because I was always loved. I had family, no one's ever treated me any other way but family.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily have that urge, but like you said, Ancestry, that's how it started. She bought an Ancestry DNA test. I did that, sent it back. Maybe about a month later, it came back with the closest relatives were second or third cousins.
Okay.
And then, I got to know, I was more interested at that time as far as where I come from, Africa, since,
Right.
I found out I'm Nigerian, so I was happy to hear that,
Yeah.
But as far as with family, second or third cousins and uncles that could have been, second or third uncle once removed, and it was crazy. But my wife, she stuck to it, got on census, obituaries. That she even subscribed to a website where you could, get public information about people. Just had to pay for it, but it gives you, previous addresses.
So she was going in. She's in Inspector Gadget mode.
She became a private eye. She was on it every single day, every night. So I think I found these people. I think I found this might be your aunt. This might be your mom. And then they got to my mom in my adoption paperwork. They gave me a letter.
Okay.
Non-identifying letter. So in identifying information about my parents, but it just gave a story, some basic information as far as, grandparents dying from strokes and, what they did for a living and things like that. And it said that my mother had an accounting course in 1988 that she completed. Okay. So then I was on social media. My wife had given me some names. Just typed in one of the names on LinkedIn, and it happened to be my mom, but it said accountant 1988. And I was like, and I just screenshotted it, sent it to my wife. She's like, I think this might be your mom. I was, skeptical about it all. It was all alleged to me because it's always been surreal. I never thought it'd be something.
Now, were you skeptical because it was surreal, or what was the skepticism with you?
I mean, I was just always kind of pessimistic about it. Always expected the worst. So that, I don't know, so I never would be disappointed, I guess. That's just how I've always molded myself. I expect the worst. So, if it is disappointment, it is what it is, and we can find something positive out of it.
Right.
Versus me.
So let me ask you this: what had you set your mind up for if this didn't go the way you wanted and y'all could keep it moving? Like, what were you thinking about internally? What are you thinking? Like, what were you setting up yourself for? Like, if maybe they don't want anything to do with me, then I can tell my wife, hey, I tried. I know this stuff I can check this stuff when I go to the doctor and I can move on. What were you thinking?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I got my health. I got my health stuff. I got enough. If they are not welcoming, it is what it is. I'm good. I have my family. I got my own family. I got 3 kids, a wife. I'm good.
Yeah.
So I got a mother. It's not like I didn't have a mother and everything.
A good mother too.
Exactly. So
it
would have been all right. I thank you for your efforts and your hard work, but it would have been okay. But again, I did expect, because I saw some videos on YouTube on adoption, reunions going wrong, and you don't really see people look like us.
Really?
About Black people not doing adoption. If I YouTube Google adoption, you don't see too many African Americans. You may see, foreign Africans that were adopted and hung over here, things like that, but you don't see too many, African Americans adopted by African Americans and then looking for parents and that kind of story.
To jump on that is one of the things that you're saying is where I get my haircut in Chatham. And the barber was telling me, Princess, shout out to Princess, Rose Barbershop. One of the things she was telling me is that one of the groups that she not targets, but she services is Black kids who are adopted by white people or biracial kids, where the white parent is trying hard to have them still be a part of the community that looks like them, they come from. And man, it broke my heart. This Saturday, this girl, I think she was African. I don't want to say, I think she was African, but you didn't see the mom, but the barber chair is here, and the little girl was combing her hair. And her hair was not long at all. It was not long at all. And she was looking in the mirror, very smart, very pretty girl. But she was combing her hair. And she said, when people say I look like a boy, I tell them, no, I'm not. I'm a girl. And then everybody in the barbershop stopped what they were doing to reaffirm this girl that she was pretty as a Black girl. Even and when I say even with short hair, it sounds bad because I'm not trying to say somebody who has long hair is, you're pretty even with short hair. You can have short hair, long hair doesn't make you pretty. You know what I'm saying? But she was getting her affirmation, and then this white lady came out the back, and it was a white woman. And so it's kind of like you said in that video, you don't see a lot of African Americans, I suppose, doing adoption. Would you say that's the case?
That's from my experience. That's from my research. I haven't seen too many stories, and I've been looking. That's the reason I put mine out.
Yeah.
In case there are.
So let's go back to that because I want people to get this. Part of the reason you put yours out was because of what?
I wanted the people to see that, there are other Black people, African American Black people that have been adopted and are looking for their parents, and to encourage people to look, even and encourage children.
Why do you think that's important from both ends for the kids to look for their parents and for the parents to look for the kid? Why do you think that's important, Matt?
I just feel like there's a bridge that, a gap that needs to be filled, and I know with me and my mother, we both yearn for each other, and to be together now, it's just, I don't have words for it, honestly.
Oh, let me ask you this then. So, being raised by a great woman who I personally know, Apostle Betty Jenkins, what was that? You said we were both yearning for it. What was that yearning that you had, even though you had a credible woman who raised you, was in place? I saw her at all your games at McDougal. When you had that. What was that? What was that yearning, man?
Well, I mean, I didn't know I had, I didn't know I had that yearning until actually meeting her. It's just, I guess, something I guess I compartmentalized as, since I was young, and it helped mold me. I always been, somewhat hard. So it's just one of the things that, just helped make me, and build that, that shell of, I don't need nobody,
Right.
I've been left since a child. So you leaving me don't mean nothing.
Right.
That's always been, that chip I've had on my shoulder with that.
Yeah.
My biological parents left me. The man that named me after him left me. Anybody leaving me, they don't mean nothing. So
Right.
Just it may not be positive. That's just
No, I think this is good. So let me ask you that. Being married and having kids, is that something that you had to readjust to with your own family, or was that just a different type of, this is my wife, I got to pick her, she got to choose to be with me, I know she want me, I know, or was that something you still battle with just maybe being a husband and being a dad? Was there a battle, or was it just like, well, you know what, I know we Gucci over here because we chose to marry each other? Was that something that you had to? And I asked that because I think you're doing a lot here, man. A lot of good stuff. You're talking about just emotions that probably maybe a lot of Black men have. You know what I'm saying? With their biological parents not being there, and then building up that security wall, kind of like, listen, hey, you don't want to be with me, I don't want to be with you. And setting yourself up not to, if it's not reciprocated, then it doesn't matter. So did that have any kind of bearing with your own family for a while? It's something you had to learn to do?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I've always wanted my own family.
Okay.
I've always wanted a big family. I was the only child, just me and my mom. So I always wanted, I wanted that family dynamic, So my son Christopher was the first person I known to look like me,
Okay.
I always wanted children. So ever since I was, since you used to talk about your stories in middle school about how you met your wife.
Yeah.
If we go back to health class, you're talking about her. So, so I always wanted a family, And so it wasn't hard to.
Let's fast forward. What was the initial contact that was made by y'all besides you seeing this woman on LinkedIn? Was it a phone call? Was it because then I want to get to the video that I used to promo this from. It looks like y'all in a hotel room or something. Yes?
That was my hotel. She came. So they're in Charlotte. Family's in Charlotte.
All right, let's go back. Let's go. What was the first meeting like? Was it a phone call? Was it person to person? What was that like?
Well, the first contact was actually a text message.
Okay.
She had texted my wife. My wife had actually reached out to her maybe a month and a half.
The private investigator.
Yeah.
Okay.
She had found her number on one of these, on one of these public records sites, and had a number, and she messaged her on Facebook as well as she thought it was her correct Facebook, and then also sent her a text message. But my wife, she worked social service. She used to work in social services before being a stay-at-home mom, so she knows how to be real politically correct in it without divulging too much information in the text. She said, I want to speak about a matter back in 1988 and, maybe rectify some things. But by the way she received it, my mom received it, it sounded like a bill collector with the way she told it. It's a bill.
That word rectify maybe threw off.
Yeah, one of those SAT words she used.
Yeah.
It seemed like a bill collector. And she's like, you ain't getting nothing from me from 88. Then she said she remember she called. She was at work and she saw a 919 number come up, and she ain't paying no mind because she didn't know the number. So then we had talked. Actually, like I said, I had spoken to one of my aunts first. That's how we even got my mom's phone fully. To verify her phone number, I spoke to one of my aunts first. And she gave us the information.
Okay.
So then when I spoke to her, she was just like, first thing I said was, "Are you my mother?" Jump straight to it. I just jumped straight to it after my wife had spoke with her, through text message and kind of gave her, just a brief synopsis of what's going on and just being vague. They gave her my phone number. And then when I texted her, I was like, "You my mother?" She was like, "I don't know how to answer that. Is this for real? Is this, if this is not for real, I hope God has mercy on you." It was kind of rocky. And I was like, why is she acting like this? I thought she knew I was about to text her.
Right.
But then I called her. I ended up calling her, and then we just had a smooth conversation, and it's just been great ever since.
So hold on, I'm being nosy. What how did that conversation go, Matt, after 35 years? What did you say? Like, are y'all talking about the basketball game? Y'all talking about the football? Like, what
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember, Pastor Nate. We done had so many conversations.
Coach David.
Okay, I'm sorry, Coach David. I try to give you the respect.
No, I know you respect me.
But just I don't remember everything because we've had a lot of long conversations. The first couple of times we talked, it was 3-hour, 4-hour conversations on the phone.
Okay.
Just talking about just my life. She telling me, the story of how I was, born. I was born out of love. I wanted to know how I was born, coming to this because I didn't know how she was
important. Why was that important?
Because I didn't know how she was going to receive me. I mean, you don't know how I was conceived. You never know the situation. It could be by force. It could have been something. You never know why a woman puts a child up for adoption. So I wanted to be sensitive to that, and know for myself, like I said, that I know that can be a sensitive thing, but we just continue to just speak, and she was telling me the story of how I was born and why I put me up for adoption. She prayed for me every day. I asked her, did she think about me? She said she prayed for me every day. And so I just had 2 praying mothers. That's why I know I didn't get in some trouble. I didn't, I'm still here. Usually I have 1 praying mother or a grandmother, but I had a lot of people praying for me.
That's dope. So what was the first
all over the place with it?
Now go ahead. You good? So what was the first meeting like?
It was nervous. I was nervous, honestly. I was happy my wife was with me. My sister came as well, so she had my sister with her. I had my wife with me. We just embraced. That was from the video you saw. That was our first initial meeting. Me opening the door, seeing her face for the first time. Because we didn't want to FaceTime each other or anything until we actually saw each other face to face.
35 years. Wow. Yeah. So how was your sister? How was that?
That was great. She's just as sweet as my mother is, just as welcoming. Glad she was there to support her, as well. So she has a 3-year-old son also, a 3-year-old twin.
So now being it's been 35 years. Because it sounds like y'all kind of just, and I'm not saying in a bad way, like just jumped into it. Do you feel like y'all are building a relationship? Do you feel like y'all are getting to know each other? Or do you feel like, hey, this is a new day, this is a new season, let's just do it? How does that work?
We're definitely getting to know each other, but I mean, it's just it was an instant connection.
Okay. What would you say the connection was like at the beginning?
Um, I mean, it was just a lot of love. You know, just a lot of love. It's not like I didn't have love from my mother, my
Mhm.
family, but it's just not. I guess it's nothing like your biological mother's. You know,
So
it's
so
just
when did you meet your biological father?
probably a few weeks ago. I think the beginning of this month.
Okay. Now was the connection with him from your biological mom, or did your wife get back on the computer and do some research?
No, so they're still friends.
Okay. Okay.
They're still friends. She told me exactly who it was. You know, one of my aunts, she said we thought it was someone else who was a relative, just off of just trying to track stuff down. He wasn't my father. He's not just another relative. They said
Okay.
no. They nipped that in the bud quick. They nipped it in the bud quick. Said no. I think I know who it is, and they had actually, been, they were in love. You know, they kind of parted ways somewhat after was given up for adoption and everything. But they had different families and lives, and he's married now. But they're still friends. Everybody feeling solid. They just like you and the rest. Everybody raised in Chapel Hill. They born and raised in Charlotte.
Gotcha.
You
Gotcha.
know, big
Now,
family.
now how did y'all get connected? Did you call him, or did he hear you
Uh,
were looking for him, or how did that happen?
I believe he gave me a call first. I believe
Okay.
he gave me a call first. Because I was expecting him to reach out to me. Honestly, I mean, you got a son here. Y'all gave him up for adoption. I'm here. You might as
Okay.
well.
All right, Matt. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. And I'm just pushing. I'm not saying this is the case. Now, with your biological mom, like it was like, hey, I see on LinkedIn, da da da. My wife reached out. But with your biological dad, you kind of like, yo, you got a son. Like, do the right thing. What
I mean,
what
that's how I was feeling more
yeah,
so.
but
That was,
why was it different? I'm just asking. I'm just pushing.
man, we men. I mean, if I know I got a son out here that's in the world, I mean, I know I'm the man. I'm the father. I mean, I might as well be a man and go own up to my responsibilities.
Okay, okay, okay.
You
I
know,
feel-
if Papa was a Rolling Stone or whatever the case may be, you gotta own up to what you do.
right. So what was that first conversation like?
No, he was just with him. He just kept saying, he's like, man, I don't know what to say. I just feel guilt. I feel shame. Because he has, I have other siblings through him. That he's,
Okay.
I have a good brother. He has other children, so he feels bad. And I can see it in his face.
Yeah.
I can see it in his face, but he said I don't have any resentment towards him. He did everything that you know a man can do for the most part, but making my mother feel a little bit more comfortable situation that everything was all right,
Right.
with his family and all that,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
of making her decision with it.
So how's y'all's relationship now?
I mean, it's nice. We're getting to know each other. We're
Getting
getting to
know.
know, you know. Um,
So let me ask you this, because and just for people maybe who, like you said, I think you are helping a lot of people. Like, so getting to know each other. Is that like, hey man, hey, what's up? You see the Cowboys play today? You see ESPN, what is getting to know when you have, after 35 years getting to know somebody?
I mean, like a friend, you getting to know a friend for the first time, hearing the stories, just hearing about his childhood, you know, all of this is getting to know a new friend, basically.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But you're my father. I mean, I never had a father, also, so that's another obstacle that I'm dealing with. I've never called any dad in my life. So it's
Yeah.
just something to get used to. I've always, I have coaches and stuff like that is, but you being my actual father, I got to get used to.
Yeah. What about with your mom? Is that something you got to get used to?
Nah, I mean it's natural. I don't
So,
know.
so let me,
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know why,
Let, let's
but
let's let's stay, let's stay right there. Let's stay right there. I think this is good. I love it. So why do you think? And I'm asking, like I'm not correcting it, but why do you think that's more natural than a natural relationship than a natural relationship with a father? And I'm asking you because I think this is helping a lot of brothers, man. I think it's helping a lot of people. So I'm asking all the questions. Like I feel like there's other men who feel and other men. Like, why do you think that's more natural than that?
I mean, I guess I didn't believe what my wife used to say. You build the baby, you build that baby inside of you. It's just
Mhm.
different with mother and child.
Okay.
I guess I didn't really understand it that much because I just didn't have that connection. Like, well, my mom didn't have that connection, so that ain't necessarily true. You know what I mean?
Got you. So
But I think it is a truth too.
what was the how does Apostle Betty think? How does Miss Jenkins think? Like what's her whole take about this? Was there any kind of like, why do you want to do this? Was it any kind of like, man, maybe I might not be your mom now? Like, was that a hard conversation or was it easy because at 2 months she told you? Like, what was that transition been like with her?
No, it was honestly it was a hard conversation.
Really?
I mean, I just didn't want her to feel that I was ungrateful. Being her raising me by herself. You know, being loving, she ain't never you know treated me wrong.
Oh, I know. I
Nothing.
know.
So I just did, and I know she's sensitive at the same time. I know she is sensitive,
Mhm.
and her feelings can be hurt. But walking on ice with that. And
Mhm.
wasn't sure how to necessarily go about talking with her, but I definitely made that conversation happen. And she gave me initial information from what she had on the adoption portion as well. She gave me that years ago, and it was just a matter of and she bringing up more stuff, answering some questions as far as the adoption process and things like that. But she's been fully supportive as well. Like I said, um, kind of was always walking on eggshells with it. Not to, I don't want her to feel slighted or feel like, oh, that I want to, I'm in love my mom here, my biological mom. I don't love you, and she didn't do a good job or any of it. You know what I mean? And that's not the case. So, and that was part, I guess, somewhat reason I had, I didn't look as well, because I never wanted her to feel that way because
Yeah.
I was always treated right.
Yeah. So like you just come home one day and say, hey, this is what we've been doing, and what was her initial reaction to that, if you don't mind me asking?
She didn't really say too much about it. Just I think her questions came up after her feelings, or we went through discussing it later. But initially, she didn't really express how she felt about it or anything. She was just like, okay, well, I hope you find out. She was just supportive.
Hmm. Now, have Apostle Betty and your biological mother, have they met?
They have, they
They
have.
had.
I
How
hadn't
how
posted,
was
I
how was
hadn't
that?
posted that part yet, but they have. Yeah,
How was that?
that was great. It was I couldn't ask for nothing, anything better. It was great. Having
Good.
me sitting down on the floor beside them while they, on my couches, and them both coming to my house.
That's
With
dope.
them both coming to my house and meeting at my house. Them acknowledging to each other that they're just sharing me now. That and then my biological mom wanted that to be known that I'm not taking anything from you.
Yeah.
I'm more than grateful for you. That was her thing. She wanted, let her know that she was grateful that that she cared.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. I think your story is amazing, man. And I was just intrigued because I just known you forever. I follow you on social. I see you and your beautiful family. And like I said, you just always you're a man now. But I'm saying Matt that I met was just like a really good kid. Just never gave me any trouble. Like I said, quick as all get out. Did well in school, went to college, you're doing your thing. I'm really proud. But I knew that this would help a lot of people. I think tonight, Matt, you hit more than just being adopted. You hit also with a lot of men who don't initially know their father, or come up with their father, meet their fathers later on in life. I think you talked about a lot of emotions, a lot of walls that we as black men built up. So, man, I think you did a whole lot tonight. I think this became bigger than what you just thought. But I ended here, man, when you said you had two praying mothers. I remember a couple of years on Mother's Day, I was sharing about Moses and how there were three different women who had a part to play in his life. His mother, who wanted to get him out of bad situation. Like you said, your mom, she didn't want you to grow up in that type of situation. Then you got the slave girl who found him, and then you have the she took him to Moses, to Pharaoh's daughter, who raised him. And I tell people, even though they all had three different functions, they all played a part in who Moses became. And so, when you think about that picture of, your biological mother and then Apostle Betty, even though it was two different functions, it was an integral part in you becoming the father, the husband, the business owner, just somebody I got a great deal of respect for. And just like in that Bible verse, all three did what they thought was best. And I think it's dope how you recognize that all two, you ain't got three, there ain't nobody else out there, all two had an integral part in you becoming a man I respect, somebody I love. I can actually say I love, somebody I keep up with, and then you're mentoring kids. And, I see y'all out there doing that boxing stuff. And, when I saw you at Golden Corral with your Bourbon Street chicken, and at your age, you still got a six-pack and everything. I said, man, he's still cut up. You like you back at McDougal. But I respect you, man. If you ever need anything, let me know. But I just think this is gonna be big. It's gonna bless a lot of people. And I think that was your objective. And that was my only objective, was saying, hey, let's get and talk about it, because I think your story is gonna bless a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I thank you. I thank you for having me. I appreciate you allowing me to, tell my story.
Yeah. So we'll be in contact, man. Tell the family I say hello. I love you. If you need me, hit me up. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you for
All right,
having
man.
me.
All right.
All right.